When the universe whispers its final message, everything you thought you knew begins to tremble. Reality bends, truths unravel, and hidden powers awaken within you. This is not coincidence. It is your invitation to step beyond illusion and embrace your permanent transformation. Since the beginning of time, humanity has searched the skies for signs, patterns in the stars, echoes in the wind, omens hidden in dreams. These signs were never random. They were fragments of a message from the universe itself. Now, in this very moment, you are standing at the threshold of receiving its final call before your reality shifts forever. This is not a warning, nor is it a prophecy. It is an awakening, a reminder that reality is not as fixed as you have been taught to believe. Your world is malleable, woven of energy, intention, and frequency. What you once thought of as coincidence is, in truth, the architecture of destiny arranging itself around your choices. As you journey through these chapters, you will uncover the sacred codes written into your very being. You will learn to recognize the signs that your life is about to change, to understand the symbols the cosmos places in your path, and to prepare for the transformation that will not simply touch your life, but redefine it entirely. The universe has always spoken in whispers, in alignments, synchronicities, and sudden bursts of clarity. But this is its final message before the veil of illusion dissolves completely. Your old patterns will crumble, your hidden power will ignite, and the reality you step into will be one of your conscious creation. This audiobook is not just words, it is a transmission. Each story, each practice, each revelation you will encounter is part of your initiation. Listen closely. The universe is calling, and its final message is clear. You are far more powerful, far more infinite than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. Chapter 1. The Cosmic Tension. Signs reality is about to break open. In a quiet town where lamps hummed softly against the velvet of night, a tailor named Isandro began to notice a peculiar strain at the edges of his days. It wasn't dramatic, no thunder splitting the horizon, no angelic trumpets carved from starlight, just the subtle tautness of invisible strings being drawn, as though some unseen instrument were tuning the whole of his life. The bread tasted sweeter than it should. Strangers finished his thoughts. His watch paused for a heartbeat at 11:11 and then lurched forward as if embarrassed to be caught. He did not know the word for it, but he could feel it in his bones. A cosmic tension gathering like a distant storm. This tension is the first true sign, not the chaos that follows, nor the revelation that dazzles after the storm, but the hum before the music. Life begins to show its seams, and you realize fabric is only fabric because threads agree to hold hands. When those threads wriggle and whisper, the old pattern knows a new pattern is arriving. You feel it as a double exposure in your days. Two realities flickering, one still insisting upon grocery lists and appointments, the other pulsing beneath your skin like a tide trying to remember the moon. Isandro watched the world tilt by degrees. The corner bookstore changed its scent at noon, from ink to rain. The same stray cat appeared at different alleys, its green eyes steady as lanterns. A child he did not know called him by name and laughed as if sharing a secret. These were not accidents. They were the opening petals of the unseen, the universe clearing its throat before speaking its final message. Tension arrives because you are larger than the life you have been living. It presses at the borders you've drawn, not to break you, but to show you where you have mistaken a fence for a horizon. You begin to notice the rhythm underneath coincidence. Numbers repeat. Songs reach you at just the right line. An old friend returns, bearing a sentence that fits into your heart, like a key you had forgotten you were carrying. Most people ignore these nudges, training themselves to worship the ordinary and call it safety. But you are not most people. You are reading these words because the gentle pressure has become a tide, because the unnameable ache inside you is the blossom of a world about to unfold. Tension is mercy. It is the hand on your shoulder, turning you toward the door that has been open all along. In the days that followed, Isandro began a simple ritual. Each evening he paused on the threshold of his shop, placed his palm against the wooden frame, and listened. Not with his ears, he listened with his breath. He counted 3 grateful things he had not noticed before the day began: the texture of wool between his fingers, the kindness of the butcher who slipped an extra sprig of thyme into his paper bag, the way the sky turned the color of blueberries at dusk. Gratitude smooths the frequency of your being until you can hear the finer music, and when your music is steady, the universe can speak clearly. On the 3rd night he felt it, a soft vibration in the wood, like a purr hidden in oak. He understood without understanding. The world was alive in ways he had not permitted, waiting for him to admit it. That admission is another sign. You do not argue with your own knowing anymore. You bow to it. You do not need proof, when the proof is the way your chest opens like a window and the air tastes new. Then came the dreams, not prophecies, but rehearsals. In one he stitched a hem that became a river. In another he threaded a needle with moonlight and sewed a tear in the night. He woke with the feel of silver between his fingers, heart steady, eyes bright with the residue of a world that exists beside this one, asking to be let in. Dreams change their density when a shift approaches. They acquire the texture of instruction. You receive symbols you can use in daylight, a compass where your fear used to be, a lantern where your doubt once sat. You do not chase meaning. Meaning rises like bread when you stop needing it. There is also friction. Do not be surprised when people who loved the smaller you become unsettled by the larger you stepping forward. Isandro's cousin frowned at his silences, his new habit of pausing before he spoke. "You've grown strange," she said, mistaking stillness for distance. "Remember, a seed is strange to the soil until it splits. Let them have their names for your becoming. You will have your own. Homecoming. The final sign is the simplest. You begin to act as if the shift has already occurred. Without fanfare, without announcement, the choices you make point to the reality already forming." Isandro moved the mirror in his shop to face the street, so passers-by could glimpse themselves cloaked in possibilities they had not yet asked for. He changed nothing else, yet everything felt rearranged. The hum grew warmer, the air more lucid. He did not push. He allowed. If you are reading this and recognizing yourself, if the string of your life is singing against your ribs, know this. The tension is love in work clothes. It is the universe preparing you for the message you have asked to receive. Do not rush. Do not resist. Touch the doorframe of your life each evening and listen for the purr in the wood. Name 3 blessings you would have missed if you blinked. Let your dreams instruct you without the tyranny of analysis. And when the world calls you strange, smile like a seed in spring. There will come a morning soon when you wake and the light has a different grain, as if someone sifted the day through finer silk. You will stand and your bones will ring like crystal glasses, tuned to a note you can finally hear. You will know without spectacle that the cloth is ready, that the needle is threaded, that your hands are steady enough to stitch the new pattern waiting. That is the hour. That is the beginning. The cosmic tension has done its work. The message approaches, and so do you. Chapter 2. Synchronicity as the universe's Morse code. The baker on the corner began setting aside a loaf for you, though you had never told him what time you passed his shop. On a morning you nearly turned back home. A bus arrived the moment your foot touched the curb, the driver nodding as if your timing had been rehearsed. A book fell from a shelf and opened to a line that answered the question you hadn't dared ask aloud. This is how the cosmos taps its code along the pipes of your days. Dot, dash, dot. Synchronicity, speaking in the language of rightness. When reality prepares to shift, coincidence stops pretending to be random. It arranges itself with the grace of a flock changing direction mid-air. People call it luck or accident because they fear the intimacy of being known by the world. But the universe is not a stranger. It is your oldest kin, flickering messages through the circuitry of time, using everything, birds and headlines, receipts and rain, to say, this way. Keep going, you're almost here. Consider Siona, a midwife whose hands had ushered hundreds of first breaths into the world. She had grown tired, not of life, but of the lullaby of small doubts humming around her passion. One evening she whispered, "If I am to continue, show me the rhythm again." The answer arrived in rhythm itself. Over the next week, 3 babies entered the world, to the same melody playing from different radios in different rooms. An old song she had loved as a girl. She heard the chorus and felt her chest crack open with recognition. This was not nostalgia. This was instruction. The code read, "Return to the first love that called you." Synchronicity is an alphabet built from timing. It avoids noise by amplifying resonance. The more you steady your inner instrument, the clearer the code. This is why you cultivate quiet, not as withdrawal, but as refinement. You stop shouting your questions into the sky and begin to hum them. In the hum, a number repeats, a name reappears, an image glows with unusual insistence. Follow the glow. The mind will ask for proof. Let the heart be the witness. The heart has never met a map it could not read. There is a caution here. Synchronicities are breadcrumbs, not cages. Do not force patterns where none live. Do not twist the world to fit a narrative craved by fear. True code is gentle and redundant. It arrives in 3s and 5s, in clusters that accumulate like dew. It does not require contortion. It unfurls. If you are straining, breathe. If you are begging the wind to blow, wait. When you are ready, the breeze will find you brushing leaves like a hand through hair. Siona began a practice she called the listening pocket. Each day, she set aside a small stretch of time between tasks, a corridor between rooms, to notice what the world was spelling. She paid attention to the first word she overheard on the street, to the color that kept insisting upon itself, to the way her body leaned naturally left instead of right at the market. Soon the code grew bolder. A stranger complimented her scarf, then mentioned a clinic she had once dreamt of opening. The same clinic appeared in a grant announcement the next morning. A former client called to say a building across from the river had been vacated and felt strangely expectant. This is not magic as spectacle. It is magic as geometry, angles converging until a doorway appears. The universe has a fondness for inconspicuous messengers. The smallest thing will carry the heaviest note. A moth tapping against a lamp at midnight reminds you of a thought, which recalls a friend, which leads to a letter left unopened, which contains a key you forgot you were given. Do not despise the small. The code often wears humble clothes because humility can pass through crowded rooms without drawing envy. Keep your eyes soft, your gaze wide. The horizon is sometimes hiding in a teaspoon. When the code quickens, you may feel the dizziness of acceleration. Time seems to fold, and events crowd one another, like waves eager to touch shore. In this compression, there is temptation to interpret too soon, to build a meaning palace and move in before the walls dry. Patience preserves precision. Siona waited 3 cycles of the moon before signing the lease on the river building. She let the rhythm prove itself, not out of fear, but out of respect for the choreography. Synchronicity is a dance. You do not step on your partner's toes. Use your pen as an antenna. Write the code as you receive it. Dates, numbers, phrases, images, not as superstition, but as cartography. The page will show you what your whirl of thoughts cannot. Patterns reveal themselves to ink, like constellations to night. And when you doubt, Speak aloud the question that frightens you most. Then live your next few hours as if the answer will meet you at the third corner you turn. The universe adores an appointment kept in faith. One evening, Siona stood on the clinic's bare floor. The sun slipped through tall windows, laying gold across the room as if blessing a future not yet named. She heard soft steps on the stairs. A woman appeared, eyes shining with tears. "I didn't know why I came," she said. "I was walking and felt pulled. I had my child with you 10 years ago. I needed to say thank you." She pressed a small envelope into Siona's hands and left before questions could gather. Inside was a check, exactly the sum Siona had calculated that morning for her opening costs, down to the last coin. ... The code completed itself with a kindness that turned the air luminous. Know this: synchronicity is not the reward for righteousness. It is the natural function of a reality that listens. When you treat your days as sacred, they answer in kind. When you soften your edges, the world fits. You are not coaxing the universe into generosity. You are removing the numbness that kept you from feeling how generous it has always been. So walk with your listening pocket. Let numbers repeat without panic. Let feathers find your steps. Let the bus arrive as your foot meets curb. Smile at the choreography of it all. And when someone says coincidence, hear the words older meaning. To fall together. Things are falling together. The message is near. Keep your rhythm. The code is tapping from the other side of the wall, spelling your name like a song returning home. Chapter 3. The Shattering of Illusion. Recognizing False Realities. Illusion does not announce itself as a villain. It arrives dressed in reason, wrapped in custom, scented with the comfort of repetition. It is the voice that says, "This is how it's always been," and wears that sentence like armor. But when the universe prepares to deliver its final message, illusion cracks like thin ice under the weight of a new spring. The shattering can sound like loss. It is not. It is truth waking. Ephra, a jeweler whose eyes were trained to adore sparkle, had lived for years inside a showcase she mistook for a world. She measured her worth in facets, her happiness in sales, her future in window displays that turned passers-by into ghosts of approval. The first fracture came quietly. A ring, perfectly set, slipped from her fingers and landed on the floor without a sound, as if gravity had forgotten her. She picked it up, unnerved by the silence it carried. When illusion begins to break, physics behaves like poetry. Your false realities are rarely malicious. They are agreements made under dim light, promises to be small so others stay comfortable, vows to predict life so you can claim safety, rituals of scarcity disguised as discipline. You survive with them until you are called to live without them. The call often begins as irritation, a job that itches where it once soothed, a conversation that drains where it once sang, a mask that grows heavy on the bridge of your nose. Pay attention to what exhausts you. The soul tires most quickly when it has to pretend. Ephra's father had taught her to distrust softness. Precision is love, he would say, pointing to angles as if they were commandments. She made a cathedral of that phrase and prayed within it for years, until she noticed the hollowness of a temple without windows. One afternoon, a young couple entered the shop asking for a stone with a warm truth. Ephra began to parse clarity, caret, cut, the trinity she had learned to recite, then stopped mid-sentence. A warm truth. She had no shelf for that. Something inside her leaned toward a locked drawer she had not opened in years. In it lay a raw piece of amber, imperfect, alive with fossilized light. She placed it in the woman's palm. "This one," she said, surprised to hear her own voice tremble. The woman's eyes filled. "Exactly," she whispered. A warm truth had found its way through the glass. Illusion fractures when language loses its spell. Phrases you believed become cardboard in your mouth. You realize how many of your musts were borrowed costumes, how many of your nevers were walls built by fear's careful hands. The breaking is not an argument, it is a seeing. You hold a belief up to the window, and it fails to glow. You do not throw it angrily. You set it down with tenderness, the way you return a book that taught you until it could not teach you anymore. There is grief here, not because truth hurts, but because any shedding is a kind of goodbye. Ifra closed the shop early and walked to the river. The air smelled of rain not yet fallen. She sat on the bank and let the silence sift her. In that sifting, memories lined up like children waiting to be chosen. The night she pretended to be smaller so a lover would not feel diminished. The morning she priced a piece lower than its song because she feared her own valuation. The decade she equated invisibility with safety. One by one, she touched them without blame. "I forgive you," she told each younger self. Forgiveness is solvent. It loosens the glue of false realities until truth can move again. Not all illusions dissolve gently. Some shatter with a bright noise because you are ready. A mentor may betray, revealing the idol you carved from hunger. A workplace may collapse, exposing the scaffolding you mistook for architecture. When this happens, resist the reflex to scramble toward the next structure. Sit in the honest air. Let the dust settle. The space you feel is not emptiness, but accuracy. How do you recognize what is false? It demands performance, but starves authenticity. It argues loudly for itself. It crowds out wonder. It asks you to numb your body's wisdom, tight throat, clenched gut, restless legs, and calls that maturity. The true has a different feel. It is quiet and vast. It does not beg to be believed. It makes room in your chest. You know you are meeting truth when your breath lengthens without your permission. Ifra began to live from that test. Each decision stood in her palm like a stone. If her breath shortened, she set it down. If her breath bloomed, she stepped forward. She sold the brightest diamond in her case to a man with a wallet fat with conquest. Her breath shrank to a fist. She apologized to the stone when he left. The next morning, she moved the amber to the front window. People stopped. They did not always buy. They talked. They told stories about their grandmothers and honey and sunlight trapped in sap. The shop changed from a vault to a sanctuary. Revenue did not vanish. It clarified. Money, it turns out, loves warm truth, too. When illusions fall, the world does not end. It begins. You will think you have lost your map. You have not. The map was a painting of a road. You are standing on the road. Feel it under your feet. Ask your body to speak. Ask the day to show its face. Ask the night to keep its promises. Then notice how guidance arrives now, not as rules from above, but as alignment from within. The code you learned in the previous chapter grows louder when you no longer worship the false. Synchronicities don't need to push through your performances. They glide. There is a final kindness to the shattering. It reveals the friends who were mirrors rather than anchors. Some will step closer, relieved to meet the uncostumed you. Some will step away, loyal to the story that kept them safe. Bless both. A life that is shifting cannot be furnished with what adored your hiding. You are not unloving to let go. You are truthful, and truth is the only soil a permanent reality can grow in. That night, Ifra returned to the river with a small pouch. She filled it with pebbles that felt like yes. At home, she placed one pebble on her workbench and whispered, "No more glass between me and my life." The words did not boom, they settled. In the settling, she felt the world answer, as if 1,000 windows swung open at once. The illusion had served its purpose. It taught her the shape of her longing by denying it. Now the denial was over. What remained was the simple ecstasy of being accurate. You who are reading, hold this close. The false does not make you foolish. It makes you human. But you are being invited now to something older than habit and smarter than fear. When the floor of your certainty cracks, do not scramble for plaster. Lower your ear to the fissure and listen. There, beneath the rubble, the river is speaking. It has always spoken. It is saying the one thing it knows how to say. Come home. Chapter 4. The Threshold Moment, when life feels both familiar and strange. There are moments when the air itself feels doubled, as if you are walking through a town that looks exactly like your own, but hums with a slightly different pitch. The bakery still sells the same bread. The fountain in the square still pours its water, yet when you reach for a coin, you feel as if you are standing on two coins at once, one you've always known and one you've only just remembered. This is the threshold moment. Life becomes both familiar and strange, and though the mind may scramble for explanations, the soul simply whispers, yes, this is it. For Aveline, a schoolteacher whose days were measured in chalk dust and children's laughter, the threshold announced itself with the subtlest of ruptures. She walked into her classroom one morning and paused. Nothing had changed. Desks lined in rows, windows casting the same square pools of light. Yet she felt as though she were seeing everything through glass polished from the inside. The room shimmered with significance, as if it were both the classroom she had always known and the stage of an unseen play where every desk, every pencil, every child was an actor rehearsing for a greater role. She stood, chalk in hand, unable to begin the lesson, because the lesson had already begun within her. Threshold moments arrive when reality begins overlapping itself, folding like silk scarves layered one upon another. You notice echoes. Someone finishes your sentence before you've spoken it. A thought you cradle in private materializes as an event hours later. The film of ordinary life thins until you sense the brilliance behind it. Familiarity feels haunted by greatness. You are living in two realities at once, the habitual and the holy. It can feel disorienting, like leaning across a seam in time. Some resist. They clamp their grip on the familiar, insisting the strangeness is fatigue or fancy. But to deny the threshold is to deny the door. Better to soften your gaze and let the two worlds blur together until your heart learns the rhythm of stepping through. This is not madness. This is magic at work. Aveline began to notice the children's words shifting. A boy raised his hand, asked about fractions, and added, like when you divide the world into two, but it's still one. She laughed at the coincidence until she saw the other children nod, their eyes solemn, as though they too had glimpsed something in the overlap. The threshold does not open for you alone. It ripples outward, allowing those near you to sense it as well, even if they cannot name it. When you find yourself in the threshold moment, pay attention to your breath. Does it feel longer, deeper, more deliberate? The body knows before the mind consents. Your senses sharpen not with anxiety, but with reverence. The sound of footsteps in a hallway feels like a drumbeat. The sunlight spilling across your floor appears as if placed there by unseen hands. You are not imagining it. You are perceiving the depth usually hidden by habit. This is the universe's way of preparing you. Before the permanent shift, you must become acquainted with living in liminality, in between what you were and what you are becoming. The strange familiarity is your training ground. It teaches you to hold paradox without breaking, to welcome the surreal without fleeing, to trust that the strange is not hostile, but holy. There is a practice for these moments. When the familiar feels strange, do not rush to normalize it. Pause. Place your hand on your heart and whisper, I see you. This is not to tame the strangeness, but to honor it. By acknowledging the overlap, you invite the deeper layer of reality to reveal itself more fully. Aveline tried this one afternoon when the playground laughter sounded like a choir of bells. She stopped, touched her chest, and whispered. In that instant, time slowed. She saw the children running not just as children, but as currents of light in small bodies, their joy weaving invisible patterns in the air. The threshold had unfolded another veil, As days passed, she found herself less frightened of the duality and more enchanted. She realized the threshold was not meant to be crossed once, but danced within. Every threshold moment is an invitation to step into awareness again and again, to live as if the ordinary were only the costume of the extraordinary. When she looked at her reflection, she no longer saw just her face, but the possibility of countless faces layered behind it, each belonging to versions of her yet to be born. So it will be for you. Do not curse the strangeness. Do not cling to the familiar. Instead, learn to hold both at once, like a candle in each hand illuminating different shadows. The threshold is proof that reality is already stretching itself to welcome your next becoming. Walk gently, smile often, and know that when life feels both familiar and strange, you are standing exactly where the universe needs you, on the bridge between what was and what is about to be. Chapter 5. The Awakening Current, Energy Rising Within. There is a hum in your chest you cannot ignore. It arrives like the faint throb of distant drums, steady but insistent, as though the marrow of your bones has begun to sing. This is the awakening current. It does not come from outside. It rises within, a tide of energy reminding you of the river you have always been. For Leontius, a watchmaker in a city where days ticked with mechanical certainty, the awakening began with restlessness. His tools felt heavier, his clocks seemed louder. He would wake at night with his hands buzzing, as if they held invisible gears spinning faster than any mechanism he had crafted. At first, he feared illness, but no doctor could name the current. They shrugged, prescribed rest, yet no rest dulled it. If anything, the energy grew stronger, pulsing like a secret knocking from the inside out. This rising current is the herald of transformation. It gathers when the soul refuses to stay compressed in a body tuned only to survival. The current stirs because your being is preparing to operate at a higher frequency, one that cannot fit neatly within the old rhythms. You may feel tingling in your palms, sudden warmth in your spine, tears arriving without cause, laughter blooming in quiet rooms. These are not symptoms of disorder. They are signs that your inner river has broken the dam. Leontius noticed light differently. Candle flames quivered with color he had never seen, shades that seemed to carry emotion rather than hue. His apprentices laughed at his distracted gaze, but he could not explain how each glow felt like a message. The awakening current alters perception. What was once flat becomes layered. What was once background becomes intimate. It is as if reality begins leaning closer, eager to be touched. This energy rising is not always comfortable. The body resists, accustomed to its old frequencies. You may feel heaviness in your chest, a racing heart, moments of exhaustion. But remember, a river carves valleys through persistence, not haste. Your task is not to dam the flow, but to allow it to widen you. Lie down when tired, not as defeat, but as offering. Drink water as if baptizing your cells. Breathe deliberately, drawing the current through you rather than fighting its rhythm. Leontius found solace in breath. Each night when the humming into his bones grew strong, he sat at his bench, closed his eyes, and inhaled slowly. He imagined light rising from his feet to his crown with each breath, like mercury climbing in a glass tube. As it rose, the buzzing calmed into coherence. He realized the current was not random, it was intelligence seeking harmony. The body became an instrument learning to tune itself. One night he dreamed he was inside a clock. The gears were galaxies, the hands were rivers, and he was not fixing time but weaving it. He awoke with tears. The current had given him not a vision, but a memory. He understood then that his restlessness was not sickness, but expansion. The energy rising was the universe reminding him of his true design, to create, to align, to serve as conduit. So too with you. When the awakening current hums, do not fear its strangeness. Let it teach you. Place your hands on your body where the energy concentrates. Ask what it wishes to tell you. Sometimes it will answer with warmth, sometimes with images, sometimes with silence that feels vast and kind. Trust that all answers are language. There is a practice to harness the current. Before sleep, lie flat, arms open. Visualize your body as a riverbed and light as water rushing through. See the current washing away debris, widening channels, nourishing banks. Say aloud, I am ready to carry this light. Words spoken in this state become agreements. The universe responds to agreements more than pleas. Leontius continued his practice until the buzzing became song. His clocks began keeping uncanny time, not just hours and minutes, but rhythms that aligned with seasons, with tides, with births and departures in the town. People began saying his clocks knew more than schedules. They knew destinies. He smiled, never correcting them, for he understood now. The current that rose within him had tuned him to the symphony of the cosmos, and through him others heard their part. When the current rises in you, rejoice. It means the universe trusts you with its music. You are not breaking, you are resonating. The hum in your chest is not disorder, it is the prelude. Surrender, allow, become the instrument you were carved to be. The awakening current will carry you where maps cannot. Let it flow, it knows the way. Chapter 6. The Language of Symbols and Omens. The universe rarely writes in sentences. It prefers symbols, shapes that bend around logic and land directly in the soul. An owl at your window at dawn, a coin glinting on the path, a phrase overheard 3 times in 1 week. These are not accidents. They are the hieroglyphs of destiny, spelling out the message that words are too narrow to carry. Mireia, a seamstress whose nights stretched long with questions, first noticed the language when she spilled tea across the tablecloth. The stain formed the exact shape of a key. She laughed at the coincidence, but the next day she dreamt of doors. The following week, a customer handed her an old silver key as payment, saying, I don't know why, but I feel this belongs to you. Symbols do not explain themselves. They accumulate until their meaning becomes undeniable. Omens arrive when reality is preparing you for a shift too large for logic to escort. They bypass the mind, striking chords in the heart that echo with recognition. You see a butterfly the morning you decide to quit your job, and its fragile wings tell you more about transformation than any spreadsheet. A storm breaks overhead as you sign a contract, and the thunder becomes counsel. The world is alive with language, and everything in it is fluent. To read this language, cultivate softness. Do not demand instant translation. The mind wants dictionaries, but the soul understands through resonance. When a symbol appears, ask, how does this feel in my body? Does it open or constrict? Does it invite or repel? Mireia felt warmth each time the key appeared, a gentle expansion in her chest. She understood without words that she was being asked to unlock a part of her life she had kept closed. Not every omen is gentle. Some arrive fierce to shake you awake. A mirror may crack when you cling too hard to an old identity. A bird may strike your window to warn of blind spots. These are not punishments, but emphatic punctuation, the universe underlining a truth you have ignored. Receive them with humility, not fear. Even harsh symbols carry medicine. Mireia finally surrendered when she found herself standing before an abandoned house at the edge of town, key trembling in her hand. She had not planned the journey. Her feet carried her, guided by signs, a painted door in a dream, a whisper of wind pulling her left instead of right, the uncanny sense of being summoned. She placed the key in the lock, turned it, and the door opened onto a studio filled with fabric, light, and silence waiting to be shaped. She knew instantly this was where her new work would begin. The symbols had written her destiny without ink. Your life, too, is inscribed with omens. The trick is not to hunt them, but to notice. The more reverence you bring to the small, the more the world reveals itself as scripture. Pick up the feather. Pause at the graffiti word that gleams. Listen when a child repeats a phrase that echoes your private prayer. Symbols are bridges. They cross the gap between what you ask and what the universe answers. There is a practice to deepen your fluency. Keep a symbol journal. Each day, note the images, animals, numbers, or repetitions that stand out. Over weeks, patterns emerge. A fox may appear again and again, teaching you cunning and adaptability. Circles may haunt your dreams, inviting you into wholeness. Let these symbols be teachers rather than puzzles. Their meaning is alive, growing as you grow. When confusion lingers, ask for confirmation. Whisper to the night, if this path is true, show me the sign again. Then wait. The universe delights in repeating itself for those who listen. Do not demand how or when, simply trust the return. Mireia later discovered that the key had belonged to her grandmother, a woman she had never met but who had been a seamstress too. The house was once hers. The symbols had not only opened a door to her future, but reconnected her to her lineage. This is the depth of the language. It weaves past, present, and possibility into one tapestry of guidance. So pay attention. The world is not mute. It is speaking constantly in the alphabet of wonder. Symbols are the universe's final shorthand, omens its urgent whispers. You are not lost. You are being spoken to. Carry this truth. Every sign, from feather to thunderclap, is love in disguise, pointing you toward the reality that waits just beyond the veil. Read carefully. Your new world is already being written. Chapter 7. Dreams as Messengers of the Infinite. When night falls, your body believes it is resting, but the truth is more magnificent. You are crossing into the boundless sea of the infinite. The stage of dreams is not mere imagination, but a language the universe uses when words are too fragile to hold the weight of its messages. A dream is not always what it seems. It is the messenger carrying instructions, warnings, and blessings wrapped in symbols that speak directly to the hidden chambers of your soul. Seraphine, a healer in a coastal village, often dismissed her dreams as nonsense, a jumble of fragments from her day. Yet one night she dreamt of a bridge stretching over water so still it reflected the stars. On the bridge stood her grandmother, long departed, pointing silently to the far shore. The dream repeated for 7 nights until Seraphine could no longer ignore it. The following week, she was invited to travel across the sea to teach her craft. When she arrived, she realized the shoreline was the very one her grandmother had pointed toward in her dreams. It was not metaphor, it was map. Dreams are messengers slipping past the walls of logic. They are the voices of your higher self, your ancestors, and the universal mind, speaking in colors, in places, in people you have never met. When you dismiss a dream as just a dream, you discard a letter written by the infinite itself. To honor them is to step into the dialogue of destiny. The key is not to treat dreams like riddles to be solved, but as companions to be trusted. A snake that coils at your feet may be fear. It may also be transformation. A crumbling house could be the collapse of false structures or the invitation to rebuild. The meaning is never fixed. It lives within the resonance of your own heart. What frightens one may free another. Therefore, when you wake, ask not, "What does this mean?" but rather, "What does this feel like?" The body often carries the translation before the mind can read the script. Seraphine began keeping a journal beside her bed, pen and candle waiting for the moment her eyes opened. She recorded every detail, colors, sensations, half-forgotten whispers. Over time, she saw patterns. Whenever a bird appeared, news followed. When she walked through forests in her dreams, new students came into her life. The journal became her own dictionary of infinite messages, a map drawn from repetition, from resonance, from trust. There is also the practice of asking before sleep. The infinite loves to respond when you invite it. Formulate a clear question, gentle, not desperate. What step must I take next? Or, show me how to release this burden. Then fall asleep with the trust of a child placing a letter into the hands of a wise elder. The answer may not arrive in the form you expect. It may come as an image, a phrase, a face. It may take 3 nights or 3 weeks. But it will come, for the infinite cannot resist a soul willing to listen. Sometimes dreams arrive with such force they change the course of life entirely. A king once dreamt of 7 lean cows devouring 7 fat cows and an empire prepared for famine. A scientist dreamt of a snake swallowing its own tail and discovered the structure of molecules. The infinite has always whispered through dreams, shifting history with the courage of those who believed. Your own dreams are no less sacred. They may not govern kingdoms, but they govern the kingdom of your becoming. If you awaken with the residue of a dream clinging to you, colors lingering, emotions heavy, do not brush it away. Sit quietly, close your eyes again, and re-enter the dream in memory. Ask the image what it has come to give. You will be astonished at how easily the scene answers when you treat it as alive, for it is alive. The infinite does not send hollow echoes. It sends living symbols that breathe through you. Seraphine eventually realized her bridge dream was more than a map. It was also instruction, to trust that she was being guided even when the water was silent, even when the shore was unseen. That trust became her anchor. Her work deepened, her dreams grew more vivid, and she knew with a certainty that defied doubt that she was no longer living alone. She was living in constant conversation with the infinite. So honor your dreams. Record them, invite them, revisit them. They are not fragments of imagination, but threads woven from the loom of eternity. Every dream is a messenger, and every messenger is reminding you of one truth. The infinite is not far away. It lives inside you, speaking nightly, asking only that you listen. Chapter 8. Numbers, Patterns, and the Hidden Code. There are rhythms embedded in reality, patterns repeating like the heartbeat of the cosmos. To the unseeing eye, they appear as accidents, but to those awakening, they are the universe's arithmetic. A hidden code speaking through numbers, sequences, and designs that stitch the ordinary into the extraordinary. When you notice 1111 glowing on a clock, when a series of 3s follows you from receipts to addresses, when spirals reveal themselves in shells and galaxies alike, you are being shown the mathematics of creation itself. Matthias, a merchant who once prided himself on reason, found himself haunted by numbers. Every evening at exactly 9:09, his lantern flickered. His sales came in multiples of 7. He dismissed it until one night, walking home, he glanced at the stars and saw them arranging themselves in the same configuration he had sketched absent-mindedly on his ledger. That night he dreamt of a voice saying, "Pay attention to the pattern, for it is your path." He woke shaken, but he could not deny the weight of the sequence pressing against his life. Numbers are more than measurements. They are frequencies. Each carries a vibration, a quality, a whisper of intention. 1 is beginning, the seed. 2 is balance, the dance of duality. 3 is creation, the child of union. 7 is wisdom, the search for truth. 11 is the threshold, the master door. When these numbers gather around you, they are not random. They are the universe pressing its code into your awareness, reminding you that reality is built not of accidents, but of sacred geometry. Patterns too speak. Spirals teach you that growth is never linear. It curves back upon itself, expanding outward like galaxies unfurling. Triangles remind you of stability, 3 points holding each other in balance. Circles whisper of eternity, of wholeness that cannot be broken. To see these forms appear repeatedly in your days is to glimpse the blueprint of the universe leaning close to show its hand. Matthias began noting every number and shape that appeared. His journal soon filled with sequences, 3, 6, 9, echoing like Nikola Tesla's forgotten mantra, circles overlapping into the Vesica Piscis, a sacred form of union. As he mapped the recurrences, he realized they aligned perfectly with the decisions he was making. Whenever he ignored his intuition, numbers disappeared. When he followed his deeper knowing, they multiplied like blessings. He understood then the hidden code was not outside him. It was responding to him, a mirror of his alignment with truth. There is a practice to read the code more clearly. Choose a number or symbol that appears often in your life. Sit in silence and write down the first 3 qualities it stirs within you. Do not search for someone else's meaning. Let your body reveal the resonance. For Matthias, 7 felt like depth, patience, mystery. These qualities became his compass whenever the number returned. Soon he found that when 7 appeared, he was being asked to step into deeper trust, to wait, to listen beneath the noise. The code was not prediction, it was guidance. The danger lies in obsession. The code is not a puzzle to trap you, but a rhythm to guide you. Do not chase numbers as if they were talismans. Instead, receive them as music. Let them sing you into alignment rather than bind you with superstition. The infinite does not demand worship of signs. It invites participation in harmony. As weeks passed, Matthias followed the sequences like stepping stones across a river. Each led to the next decision, the next encounter, the next unfolding. Eventually, he realized the numbers had guided him out of his old life of commerce and into a new calling as a teacher of sacred geometry. He did not abandon reason. He expanded it, recognizing that numbers were not mere tools of trade, but keys to the kingdom of wonder. And so it will be for you. When patterns repeat, when numbers follow, when spirals spin through your days, pay attention. The universe is humming its hidden code, inviting you to dance with creation itself. Do not dismiss it as coincidence. Do not fear it as omen. Receive it as music, as mathematics of the soul. For in the end, the code is not written on paper or stone. It is written in you. You are the sequence, the pattern, the number come alive, the infinite teaching itself through your days. Chapter 9, Conversations with Silence. Hearing the universe in stillness. There is a sound so vast it hides within silence. Most people fear it, filling their hours with noise, with chatter, with constant movement. Yet the final message of the universe does not come in thunder. It comes in the stillness between breaths, in the pause between thoughts, in the silence so complete you finally remember how to hear. Elandor, a wandering minstrel, spent years filling taverns with song. His life was music, his worth measured in applause. But one evening, after the revelers had gone and the fire had dimmed, he sat with his lute and found no sound to summon. Instead, silence surrounded him, pressing like a tide. At first he panicked, believing the music had abandoned him, but as he sat longer he realized the silence itself was music, the oldest melody waiting to be heard. Silence is not absence. It is presence too deep for noise. It is the chamber where the universe speaks in vibrations beyond words. When you still yourself enough to enter it, you discover that silence hums with messages. You begin to hear the pulse of your own heart, as drum, the whisper of your breath as flute, the faint echo of stars turning as choir. In this stillness, truth arrives unadorned, not shouted, not argued, simply revealed. Elandor began to walk into forests instead of taverns. He sat by rivers, left his lute beside him, and listened. The silence was rarely pure. Birds called, water rippled, wind rustled leaves. But he noticed these sounds did not disturb the silence. They belonged to it. He learned that silence is not the absence of sound, but the spaciousness that holds all sounds. In that spaciousness, he began to hear guidance, a sense of where to walk, when to pause, whom to trust. The universe had always been speaking. He had simply been too loud to hear. For you too, the practice is simple yet profound. Create space for silence. Turn off the constant hum. Sit in a room without distraction. Place your hands gently on your knees. Close your eyes and breathe. At first, your thoughts will crowd like restless children, demanding attention. Do not scold them. Let them play until they tire. Beneath their noise, you will feel it, the silence waiting like deep water. Dip into it. Rest there. Listen. In that listening, answers come differently. They do not arrive as sentences, but as knowing. You may suddenly understand a decision that has long tormented you. You may feel a calm certainty about your path, or you may simply emerge lighter as if burdens dissolved in the quiet. Silence does not always give instruction. Sometimes it gives healing. Both are gifts. Landor discovered that when he returned to his lute after silence, his music changed. It was no longer for applause. It carried the weight of the silence itself, the depth of stillness woven into every note. Listeners wept without knowing why. His songs had become conduits of the universe, not because he played more, but because he listened more. Silence had tuned him to the infinite. The world will tell you that stillness is wasted time, that silence is emptiness. But you who are awakening know better. Silence is the temple where the universe speaks its clearest truths. It is the place where reality loosens, where illusions fade, where the final message begins to form. In silence, you are not abandoned. You are accompanied by everything. So seek silence as you would seek air. Do not fear the absence of sound. Sit within it. Breathe into it. Let the universe pour its wisdom into you through the language beyond words. Then when you rise, carry that silence with you into the noise of the world. Let it infuse your speech, your choices, your days. For once you have heard the universe in silence, you can never again mistake emptiness for void. You will know it for what it is, fullness beyond measure, the infinite whispering always, waiting only for your listening. Chapter 10. The Heart's Compass. Emotional Resonance as Truth. There is a compass hidden in the very center of your being, and unlike the instruments of metal and needle that sailors once carried, this compass does not point north. It points true. The heart, ancient and unerring, is the first navigator of reality, speaking not in calculations, but in resonance. When you stand at the edge of decision, when two roads stretch before you, it is not your logic that knows the way. It is your heart pulsing its quiet rhythm, whispering its yes and no in feelings too subtle to be spoken aloud. Leora, a merchant's daughter, grew up believing that success was found in obeying reason. Numbers ruled her father's trade, and she learned to weigh every choice with the scales of profit. Yet as she reached her 30th year, she found her days empty of joy, her body heavy with restlessness. At night she dreamed of a lantern glowing in her chest, brightening whenever she walked one way, dimming whenever she walked another. She awoke confused until a wise traveler told her, "Your heart has been guiding you all along. You have simply stopped listening." The heart speaks in resonance. You feel it when you enter a room that expands your breath, when a stranger's words feel like water to your thirst, when an idea glows in your mind with the light of inevitability. And you feel it, too, in contraction, when a choice curls your shoulders inward, when a smile feels brittle, when a promise tastes of ash. These sensations are not trivial. They are the compass itself, pointing you toward alignment or warning you of misdirection. The difficulty is not in finding the compass. It is in trusting it. Logic is loud, dressed in the armor of evidence. The heart is soft, speaking in currents and tides. But the universe favors resonance over reason, for resonance is the song that connects you to its frequency. When you follow the pull of your heart, even when reason shakes its head, doors doors open that reason could never have imagined. Leora tested the compass by small degrees. Each morning she asked her heart to guide her breakfast. When she felt warmth expand at the thought of honey, she ate honey. When her body dimmed at the thought of coffee, she chose water instead. These small obediences strengthened her trust, until one day the decision was no longer about breakfast, but about her life's direction. Her father wished her to inherit his trade, but her heart pulsed fiercely when she imagined a school for children, a place where they might learn through music and story. Logic scoffed. Schools did not profit like trade, but the resonance was undeniable. She followed it. Within years, her school flourished, not through reason's calculations, but through the magnetic truth of her heart. You too carry this compass. You may doubt it because it does not shout. But if you pause, if you place your hand over your chest and breathe, you will feel its subtle turning. The practice is simple. When faced with a choice, close your eyes. Imagine yourself stepping into each possibility and notice your body. Does it open or close? Does your breath deepen or shorten? That is your compass giving direction. There will be times when the compass points against the expectations of others. Friends may call you reckless. Family may call you ungrateful. But the resonance of the heart is older than their judgments. It speaks with the authority of truth. Better to disappoint others than to betray your compass, for when you abandon your resonance, you abandon your path. Leora's school became more than education. It became sanctuary. Parents who had doubted her vision began to see their children glowing with joy, learning not only numbers and letters, but wonder itself. The resonance of her heart had guided her to create a vessel that served the greater resonance of many hearts. This is the secret. When you follow your heart, you align not only yourself, but the wider harmony of the universe. Your truth becomes a chord in the cosmic symphony. So let your heart guide you. Trust the compass that beats inside your chest. Let resonance, not reason alone, determine your steps. For in the end, the universe does not measure your life by the logic of your choices, but by the alignment of your song. And your heart, steady and ancient, always knows the melody. Chapter 11. The Collapse of Outdated Beliefs. Before the dawn of transformation, there comes a shattering. Not of the world around you, but of the scaffolding within. The beliefs that once held you upright, but now keep you small. They collapse, not as punishment, but as liberation. The old stories fall apart because they cannot contain the magnitude of who you are becoming. Cassian, a scribe in a grand city, once believed that his worth was tied to obedience. He copied texts without error, prided himself on flawless lines, lived quietly in the shadows of others' words. He told himself this was humility, but in truth, it was fear disguised as virtue. Then one day, a storm struck the city and water flooded the library. Dozens of manuscripts dissolved into pulp, including the ones he had labored over for years. Cassian wept, for his identity had been erased. But in the silence that followed, he realized something extraordinary. Though the words were gone, his hands still remembered how to write. His worth was not in preserving the voices of others, but in birthing his own. Outdated beliefs collapse when their time is done. They are structures built from survival, not from truth. You may believe you must always please others to be loved, that success must come through struggle, that worth is measured in approval. These beliefs protect you for a time, like scaffolding around a fragile building. But when the building is ready to stand on its own, the scaffolding must come down. If you cling to it, you will mistake the support for the structure, and your growth will be stunted. The collapse often feels like loss. A job dissolves, a relationship ends, a certainty crumbles. You may cry out, "Why is this being taken from me?" But the universe is not robbing you, it is removing the scaffolding. What remains is stronger, freer, truer. The loss is not theft, but unveiling. Cassian resisted at first. He tried to salvage scraps of the manuscripts, drying pages in the sun. but each crumbled in his hands. Only when he stopped grasping did he feel the stirrings of his own words rising, stories he had silenced for decades. He began to write them haltingly at first, then, with growing fire, his collapse had cleared space for his creation. You, too, will feel this. The beliefs that once protected you will falter, and you will feel naked without them. But this nakedness is honesty. This is where you meet yourself unarmored. Here you will learn that worth is not earned, that love is not conditional, that joy is not selfish. The collapse is the passage into freedom. There is a practice for walking through collapse. When something falls away, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this making space for?" Write the answer, even if it feels foolish. Return to it each day. Over time, you will see that what you thought was destruction was preparation. The garden cannot bloom until the old weeds are pulled. Cassian's words eventually filled volumes, but these were not mere books. They carried the fire of authenticity, the strength born from collapse. Others read them and felt their own beliefs cracking open, their own scaffolding shaking. Collapse spreads like fire, not to destroy, but to illuminate. When one person chooses truth over outdated belief, they light the path for many. So welcome the collapse when it comes. Do not cling to scaffolding that no longer serves you. Let the old stories dissolve. Stand in the space they leave behind, raw but real. For it is only when the outdated beliefs collapse that you can finally see the sky unobstructed, vast and waiting, filled with the promise of your becoming. Chapter 12. The Death of Limiting Identities. Every life is layered with names, masks, and roles, some chosen, many inherited. You call yourself worker, parent, dreamer, survivor. These identities serve for a season, giving shape to your journey. But when transformation arrives, the limiting identities must die. They fall away like leaves in autumn, clearing space for the deeper self to emerge. Naomi, a weaver in the high mountains, lived her life wrapped in one identity, the dutiful daughter. Her father's loom had passed to her, and with it, the belief that her purpose was to continue his patterns, his traditions, his silence. She wove for the village, bowed politely, never spoke her dreams aloud. The identity protected her, it gave her belonging, yet it also bound her. At night she dreamt of tapestries bursting with colors her father had never used, patterns the village had never seen. Each morning she folded the dream away, telling herself, "That is not who I am." But the soul has little patience for cages. One day Naomi's loom broke, the shuttle snapped, the threads tangled, the pattern collapsed. She sat among the ruins of her work and wept. Yet as her tears dried, she felt something inside her whisper, "Good. Now you are free." The death of her limiting identity had begun. Identities become limiting when they claim to be the whole of you. I am only this. I could never be that. They shrink the vastness of your being into a mask too tight to breathe in. The death of these identities feels terrifying, for you mistake them for yourself. But they are only costumes. The actor is greater than the role. Naomi resisted. She tried to repair the loom, to rebuild the identity of dutiful daughter, but each attempt failed. Finally, in desperation, she began weaving with her hands alone. No loom, no pattern, only instinct. The result was wild, imperfect, alive. For the first time, she felt herself in her work. The death of her old identity had given birth to her truth. So it will be with you. The roles you cling to will crumble. Perhaps the identity of the strong one will shatter when you finally allow yourself to cry. Perhaps the identity of the victim will dissolve when you step into your power. Perhaps the identity of the achiever will die when you learn that your worth is not measured in doing, but in being. Each death feels like a loss, but it is liberation. Beneath the mask, the true face waits. The practice is gentle but firm. Whenever you hear yourself say, "I am," pause. Ask if the words that follow are cage or key. If they constrict, let them die. If they expand, let them live. Write down the identities you wear, which are costumes, which are essence. Then burn the costumes in fire or release them to water, a ritual of letting go. Death deserves ceremony, even the death of masks. Naomi's new weavings astonished her village. At first they resisted, clinging to the familiar, but over time they saw the vitality in her patterns, the truth in her colors. They realized she had not betrayed her lineage. She had expanded it. The death of her limiting identity had allowed the inheritance of her blood to bloom fully. She became not the dutiful daughter, but the living expression of her ancestors' wildest dreams. You are more than the names you have been given. You are more than the masks you wear. Let the limiting identities die. Grieve if you must, but do not fear. Each death clears space for the birth of your truest self. And in that self, unbound and infinite, the universe finds its purest expression. For you are not the role. You are the actor, the stage, the play, and the light. Chapter 13. The Purification Through Chaos. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. Structures that felt unshakable crumble in days. Relationships unravel with a single sentence. And plans that once gleamed with certainty scatter like ashes in the wind. You may call this misfortune, or bad luck, or betrayal. But beneath the noise of loss lies a deeper truth. Chaos is not the end of you. It is the purification of you. The universe, in its final kindness, will sometimes tear down everything that no longer serves you in order to clear a path for what must come next. Esme, a glassblower in a crowded city, learned this truth when a fire tore through her studio. Years of work melted into shards and smoke. She stood among the ruins with empty hands, her heart echoing with the sound of collapse. For weeks, she wandered in despair, convinced she had lost herself along with her art. But slowly she noticed something strange. The air felt clearer, her sleep deeper, her thoughts freer. Without the burden of all she had clung to, her spirit had room to breathe again. She realized the fire had not destroyed her, it had purified her. It had burned away what was stagnant, leaving only the essence of her craft and the courage to begin again. Chaos always arrives carrying a hidden gift. It feels violent, but its violence is mercy. It sweeps away illusions you were too afraid to release, patterns you were too entangled to unravel. It does what your hesitation could not. What remains is not emptiness, but clarity. The raw truth of who you are without the clutter of who you pretended to be. The difficulty is surrender. When chaos strikes, the mind clings to what is gone, mourning the scaffolding as if it were the house. But chaos is never random. It is precision disguised as disorder. It strikes exactly where you have outgrown, exactly where you are ready to be freed. If you can trust this, the purification becomes bearable, even beautiful. Esme began walking to the river each morning, carrying nothing but herself. She breathed the mist, listened to the current, and let the chaos settle inside her like sediment sinking in water. Over time, she began to see visions of new work, pieces more daring, more alive, born not from perfection but from passion. The fire had not ended her story. It had burned away the chapters that were no longer hers to live. You may be in the midst of chaos now. If so, hear this. Do not mistake the storm for cruelty. It is the universe's way of clearing your field. It is pulling weeds so your soil can grow richer harvests. When the ground shakes, lie down. Let the shaking pass through you. When the fire rages, release what is flammable. What cannot be burned is who you truly are. There is a practice for chaos. When life unravels, sit in stillness and whisper, what is being purified? Then listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. The answer may come as a feeling, a memory, a knowing. Trust it, write it down. Let chaos teach you what no calm day ever could. Esme rebuilt her studio, but this time she kept only what was essential. A furnace, a bench, her breath. She worked with less control, more surrender, letting the molten glass speak its own shapes. People who saw her new creations marveled, saying her pieces seemed alive with light. She smiled, knowing the light was not just glass. It was the purification of her own soul made visible. Chaos purifies because you are too vast to live forever in the cages you build. Do not fear its arrival. When it comes, bow to it. Let it cleanse you of what you no longer need. Trust that what remains after the fire, after the storm, is not ruin but truth. You are not being destroyed, you are being refined. And the light that emerges from purification will be the brightest you have ever known. Chapter 14, Surrendering Control, the Doorway to Power. The great paradox of transformation is this: the more you try to control your life, the smaller it becomes. The more you release control, the greater your life expands. You have been taught to grip tightly, to plan, to command, to bend the world to your will. Yet the universe is not a machine to be operated. It is a river to be entered. Control builds dams. Surrender opens floodgates. The final message of the universe is whispered through this truth. Only when you let go will you discover true power. Dorian, a shipwright by trade, lived with fists always clenched. Every detail of his work was measured, every movement rehearsed. He believed perfection meant control, and control meant safety. But one season, storms ravaged the coast, and the ships he built were destroyed in days. Furious, he worked harder, tightened his designs, reinforced every joint. Yet the storms came again, tearing apart even his strongest creations. Exhausted and broken, Dorian sat on the beach, staring at the sea that refused to obey him. In his despair, he loosened his fists for the first time and whispered, "I cannot control you." And in that surrender, he felt peace rise within him, like a tide. Surrender is not weakness. It is the recognition that your life is woven into a greater fabric than your hands can hold. Control is built on fear, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. Surrender is built on trust, trust that the river knows its course, trust that the universe does not conspire against you, but for you. When you surrender, you do not give up, you give over. You place your will into harmony with the infinite, and the infinite responds by carrying you further than control ever could. Dorian began studying the sea rather than fighting it. He noticed how its rhythm shifted with the moon, how its currents shaped the shore, how its storms, though fierce, always gave way to calm. He redesigned his ships, not to resist the water, but to move with it. The next storm came, and his ship survived, not because he controlled the sea, but because he surrendered to it. His surrender had become his mastery. So too with your life. The storms that frighten you are not meant to be defeated, but danced with. When you stop grasping, the dance begins. Release your grip on outcomes. Release your demand for certainty. Release your insistence on how things must look. Say instead, "Carry me where I am meant to go." This is the doorway to power, for when you align with the current, you move with the strength of the river itself. There is a practice of surrender. Each evening, before sleep, write down 3 things you are trying to control. Then, for each, close your eyes and whisper, "I release this." Show me the higher path, burn the paper, or place it beneath your pillow. Trust that your subconscious will deliver your surrender to the infinite. In the morning, notice the quiet that follows, the sense of spaciousness where tension once lived. This quiet is the soil where miracles grow. Dorian's reputation spread. People marveled that his ships seemed to know the sea. He smiled, for he knew the truth. His surrender had allowed him to become a partner with the ocean rather than its tyrant, and in that partnership he had found the power he once sought in control. Surrender is the bravest act you can choose. It is not passivity. It is participation in a greater dance. Control builds walls around your life. Surrender opens gates to infinite possibility. When you finally unclench your fists, you will discover that the universe has been holding your hand all along. And in that holding, you will find power greater than anything you could have commanded. Chapter 15, The Sacred Pause Before Rebirth. Between every ending and every beginning, there is a silence. It is the breath the universe takes before exhaling new life into you. This pause feels empty, but it is not emptiness. It is gestation. Just as the seed lies buried before sprouting, just as night stretches long before dawn, so too must you enter the sacred pause before rebirth. It is not punishment, it is preparation. Kala, a healer who spent her years tending to others, one day found herself utterly empty. Her hands no longer carried warmth, her words no longer carried comfort. She felt abandoned by her own gift. So she withdrew, leaving her village, traveling into the mountains with no plan, no map. For weeks she wandered, doing nothing but sitting among rocks, sleeping beneath stars. She feared she had lost herself forever. Yet in the stillness, in the quiet pause, something was gathering unseen. The sacred pause is the still ground where transformation roots itself. You may feel it as exhaustion, as numbness, as disinterest in the very things that once defined you. Do not rush to escape this state. The pause is necessary. It allows old energy to drain, old identities to dissolve, old patterns to unravel. Without this clearing, the new cannot enter. Rebirth demands space, and the pause is how space is made. Kala's nights were filled with silence. No visions, no dreams, only stars blinking their endless patience. At first she despised the emptiness, but over time she began to feel the quiet as kindness, like a mother's lap holding her as she slept. One morning she woke and noticed the mountains humming softly, as if they had always been speaking, but she had been too full to hear. The pause had emptied her enough to listen. When you are in the sacred pause, resist the urge to force action. This is not the time for building or striving. It is the time for resting, for listening, for letting yourself be undone. Trust that beneath the stillness, life is gathering. Seeds germinate in darkness long before they pierce the soil. Caterpillars dissolve into formlessness before wings emerge. The pause is the chrysalis. It feels like death, but it is the womb of rebirth. There is a practice for the pause. Each day set aside time to do nothing, not as laziness, but as devotion. Sit in silence, hands open, heart soft. Whisper, I am willing to be remade. Let the stillness hold you. When thoughts clamor for direction, let them drift. When guilt arises for your inactivity, remind yourself, this is sacred. This is part of the cycle. Slowly you will feel the stirrings beneath the stillness, the gentle movements of rebirth preparing itself. Kala eventually returned to her village, but she was no longer the same. Her healing had changed. She no longer drew strength from her own effort. She allowed the universe to flow through her, her hands serving as channels rather than sources. People said her touch now carried not just warmth, but peace, as if the pause had imprinted its stillness into her being. She had been emptied so she could be filled anew. So honor the pause when it comes. Do not fear the silence. Do not rush to resurrect the old. Let the emptiness be your teacher, for within it, life is gathering in secret, preparing to bloom. The sacred pause is the womb of your rebirth, the quiet before the music, the stillness before the dance. Trust it, rest in it, and when the moment comes, you will rise renewed, carrying the strength of silence into the dawn of your new becoming. Chapter 16, The Frequency of Choice. Every decision you make hums with a vibration, and that vibration shapes the reality you step into. Most people think choices are made with the mind, a weighing of pros and cons, a calculation of risk and reward. But beneath the surface, each choice is a tuning fork. When struck, it resonates not only through your life, but through the invisible corridors of the universe itself. What you choose is what you become, and what you become is the frequency you broadcast into the field of infinite possibilities. Amara, a potter who shaped clay in a small village by the river, once lived in the monotony of safe decisions. Each vessel she crafted was plain and identical, each sail predictable. She told herself she preferred security over risk, yet her heart grew restless. At night she dreamt of vases that shimmered with colors no fire had yet birthed, vessels that curved in ways that seemed impossible. But each morning she returned to her simple clay bowls, her safe patterns. Her choices were lowering her frequency, keeping her life on a single narrow note. Then one evening, as the sun sank into the horizon, Amara stood before her wheel and whispered, "What if I try?" She let her hands move differently, daring to shape a form she had never attempted. The clay resisted, cracked, collapsed, but she laughed instead of crying. In that laughter she felt something shift, a vibration rising from her chest. She knew with certainty that her choice had tuned her life to a new frequency. Each choice you make is an act of alignment. When you choose from fear, your vibration contracts. When you choose from love, your vibration expands. Fear choices keep you tethered to familiar realities, repeating patterns like a song stuck on a single chord. Love choices open new pathways, raising your resonance until you begin to attract realities that match the song of your becoming. The difficulty lies in awareness. Many choices appear small. What words you speak, how you respond to anger, whether you follow a whisper of curiosity or dismiss it, yet each is a thread woven into your tapestry. No choice is neutral. Every choice carries a frequency. The question is, are you tuning yourself to scarcity or abundance, to contraction or expansion, to fear or love? Amara began experimenting with this awareness. Each morning she asked herself, what choice today will raise my frequency? Sometimes it was as simple as offering kindness to a stranger. Sometimes it was daring to create a vessel she had never imagined. Each time she chose expansion, she felt her body hum with a brighter energy, and soon customers began to notice. They said her pots felt alive, as if they carried a song within them. Her choices had reshaped not only her life, but the field around her. There is a practice you can begin. Before each decision, large or small, pause. Place your hand over your chest and ask, what frequency will this choice carry? Then feel, expansion or contraction, lightness or heaviness. Your heart will tell you instantly. Trust it. And when you choose with awareness that you are striking a tuning fork that will echo far beyond the moment. Do not fear mistakes. Even a choice born of fear can teach you resonance. Amara once sold a piece she had created from anxiety, and the buyer returned it days later, saying it felt wrong. At first she felt shame, but then she realized the clay had simply carried the vibration of her fear. It was a reminder, not a failure. She resolved to choose differently next time, and in that resolve, her frequency rose again. Choice is not about control, it is about harmony. You cannot dictate how the universe will respond, but you can decide the frequency you bring to it, and the universe, in turn, will always respond to resonance. This is the law. You receive not what you ask for, but what you vibrate. Amara's life transformed not through sudden miracles, but through consistent alignment. Her workshop filled with color, her nights filled with joy, her heart with peace. The villagers began calling her the woman who sings through clay. She knew the truth. She had simply chosen again and again to tune herself to love, and in doing so, she had shifted her reality. So let every choice be sacred. Do not rush. Do not dismiss. Each is a note in the symphony of your becoming. Choose the frequency of love, of expansion, of courage, and soon you will find yourself living in a world that sings back to you, perfectly attuned to the music of your soul. Chapter 17, Aligning with Higher Timelines. Time is not a single road stretching forward in a straight line. It is a vast web of paths, each branching with every choice, every thought, every possibility. You are not bound to one timeline. You are walking among infinite versions of yourself. Some live in scarcity, some in abundance. Some dwell in fear, others in joy. The universe's final message invites you to align with the higher timelines, the paths where your truest self is waiting, calling you forward. Caius, a scholar in a temple of stone, once believed the future was fixed. He studied calendars, mapped stars, read omens, all in the hope of predicting what was to come. Yet no matter how much he studied, his life remained stagnant, bound by the belief that destiny was unchangeable. Then one night he dreamed of a hall filled with doors. Behind one he saw himself sick and weary. Behind another he saw himself strong and vibrant. Behind a third he saw himself teaching to crowds of eager students. As he reached for a door, a voice whispered, "You choose which version of yourself to meet." When Caius awoke, he felt something shift. He realized his life was not a prison, it was a corridor, and each choice was a door. By aligning his thoughts, his energy, and his actions, he could step into higher timelines, realities where his soul's purpose could unfold more fully. The key to alignment is resonance. Higher timelines are not random. They are reached when your vibration matches their frequency. When you live in fear, you align with lower paths. When you live in gratitude, love, and vision, you align with higher paths. The timeline is not chosen once. It is chosen daily, hourly, moment by moment. Caius began to practice. Each morning he visualized himself walking through the hall of doors. He placed his hand on the one that felt warm, expansive, alive. Then he asked himself, what would the Caius behind this door choose today? He followed that answer. Slowly, his life shifted. He found opportunities to teach. His health improved. His spirit grew lighter. He had not changed the stars. He had changed his alignment. This practice is available to you. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing in the corridor of possibilities. See the doors stretching endlessly. Ask your heart, which door belongs to my highest self? Step through it in your mind. Feel who you are on the other side. Then carry that feeling into your day. Align your actions with that version of yourself. The more you live as if you are already on that higher timeline, the more reality reshapes itself to meet you there. Do not be discouraged if lower timelines appear. Sometimes you will open a door and find pain, confusion, or loss. Do not fear it. Simply step back and choose again. The corridors are infinite. You are never trapped. You are always one choice away from realignment. Caius once faced a great test. He was offered a position of power that promised wealth, but demanded silence about the truths he had discovered. The lower timeline glimmered with security. The higher timeline pulsed with integrity. He stood in the corridor of his heart, felt the resonance, and chose the higher door. Though the path was harder at first, it led to his greatest fulfillment, for his teachings spread far beyond what he could have imagined. So remember, your future is not fixed. You are walking among infinite versions of yourself. Align with the higher timelines not by force, but by resonance. Choose the door that feels like expansion, like truth, like love. Step through and know that as you do, the universe rearranges itself to meet you for the infinite delights in carrying those who choose their highest path. Chapter 18. The Magnetic Field of Intention. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every desire you hold radiates outward like light from a flame. These radiations gather, overlap, and form a field around you, a magnetic field of intention. This field is not fantasy. It is the architecture of your reality, the unseen structure that draws people, events, and opportunities into your life. To master intention is to master magnetism. To master magnetism is to shape reality itself. Celine, a healer who lived on the edge of a forest, often wondered why some of her prayers came true and others dissolved into silence. She prayed for abundance, yet poverty lingered. She prayed for health, yet illness persisted. One night, as she walked among the trees, she stopped to rest. In the silence, she felt her body buzzing, as if energy radiated from her skin into the air. She realized then prayer was not words alone, it was frequency. What she radiated mattered more than what she said. Intention is more than desire. It is desire fused with belief, emotion, and surrender. A fleeting wish carries little weight, but an intention, when held with clarity and resonance, becomes magnetic. The field you create draws to you what matches its frequency, just as a magnet pulls iron filings into shape. This is why fear so often attracts more fear, and gratitude multiplies abundance. The field is always active. The question is, what are you radiating? Celine began to experiment. Each morning, she set one clear intention. She wrote it down, not as a plea, but as a declaration. I am a vessel of healing. Then she closed her eyes and breathed until her body vibrated with the feeling of already being what she had written. She held the sensation for minutes, then released it like a bird into the air. Within weeks, people began arriving at her door, drawn not by her words, but by her field. Her intention had become magnetic. The field of intention does not respond to doubt. If you declare abundance while secretly vibrating with fear of lack, the field reflects your fear, not your words. This is why alignment is essential. Before setting intention, clear the clutter of doubt through stillness, gratitude, or ritual. Then set the intention with clarity and resonance. Trust that the field has heard you. The how and when are not yours to command. Your work is to hold the frequency. The universe's work is to deliver the form. There is a practice for strengthening your field. Sit quietly, spine straight, hands on your heart. Speak your intention aloud. Then imagine golden light radiating outward from your chest, filling the room, the town, the world. See it weaving into the fabric of reality, drawing into your life all that resonates with it. Do this daily, not as force, but as devotion. The more consistently you radiate, the stronger your field becomes. Celine discovered that intention is not only personal, but collective. When she gathered with others, their shared intentions magnified the field. A circle of 10 created a resonance far greater than anyone alone. Together they intended for healing in their village, and within weeks, conflicts softened, crops thrived, children laughed more freely. Intention had shaped not just their lives, but their community. So guard your intentions. Do not set them carelessly, for the field responds to every frequency you emit. Speak with clarity, feel with truth, release with trust. Know that the magnetic field of intention is always active, always weaving, always drawing the world to meet you. And remember, you are not a powerless wanderer in this life. You are a living magnet, a radiant field, a co-creator with the infinite. When you master your intention, you master the song your reality must sing. Chapter 19, The Quantum Leap. Time as Fluid Reality. Time is a river, yet most believe it a road. They see it stretching only forward, one moment following another in rigid order, as if destiny were a train that cannot leave its tracks. But time is not steel, it is water. It bends, loops, folds. It is as fluid as the tide, and when you learn to move with its currents, you can leap beyond the limits of linear reality. You can shift in a single breath to a life that once seemed years away. Alaric, a physician in a bustling port city, had spent his life obeying the calendar. Each day he counted hours in patients seen, seasons in illnesses treated. His life moved predictably until the day he met a wandering mystic who asked him, "Do you know how long healing takes?" Alaric replied with charts and averages. The mystic only smiled. Healing takes as long as belief allows. That night, Alaric dreamed of standing on a shoreline, watching the ocean fold in upon itself until yesterday and tomorrow lapped at his feet together. When he woke, he felt something shift. Time was not a chain, it was a sea. The quantum leap is the moment you step beyond the calendar, the moment you realize change does not require years, only alignment. It happens when the vibration of your being matches a reality so fully that it manifests instantly, regardless of time. One choice, one vision, one breath can move you from sickness to health, from despair to joy, from scarcity to abundance. Time bends to the frequency of certainty. Alaric began to test this. With patients who believed healing must take months, their recovery crawled. But with those who believed in possibility, their bodies responded faster, their energy shifted sooner. He saw that time obeyed expectation. The leap came when he stopped treating illness as a timeline and began treating it as an alignment. Some healed in days, others in moments. He had stepped into the quantum truth. Time is pliable. You may not be a physician, but the same truth applies. When you cling to the belief that change takes years, you bind yourself to slow currents. But when you surrender that belief and hold the resonance of now, the leap happens. You may have carried a wound for decades and still release it in a single night. You may have struggled for years and still find abundance in one decision. Time is not your jailer, it is your servant. There is a practice for the leap. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and imagine yourself already in the reality you desire. Do not see it as distant. Feel it now, taste it, breathe it, live it. Hold the sensation until it feels more real than your current circumstances. When your body vibrates with the truth of that reality, whisper, "Now." This is the signal. The field of infinite possibility responds not to delay, but to immediacy. Alaric discovered this when he applied it to his own life. For years, he dreamed of leaving the city, of living by the sea in peace. He told himself it would happen when he retired, when he had saved enough. But one evening, he practiced the leap. He closed his eyes and felt the ocean air on his skin, the sound of waves at his window, the peace in his bones. He whispered, "Now." Within weeks, a patient gifted him a cottage by the coast in gratitude. Time had folded. The life he thought was years away had arrived in a single moment of resonance. So do not be fooled by calendars. Do not chain yourself to the belief that transformation must be slow. When you align fully with your vision, when you embody it as real, time collapses. The leap happens. You arrive, and the universe, smiling, whispers, "You were never waiting on time. Time was waiting on you." Chapter 20. Parallel Selves and Infinite Possibilities. At night, when your body drifts into sleep, you sometimes dream of lives that are not yours. You find yourself in another home, another career, another love. You dismiss it as fantasy. But what if these dreams are not inventions? What if they are glimpses into the infinite field of parallel selves, the countless versions of you living every possibility the universe can hold? For each choice you make, another self makes a different one. For each door you open, another self remains behind. These selves are real, and through them you can draw wisdom, healing, and strength. Iris, a midwife in a mountain village, once dreamt she was a celebrated healer in a great city. Her hands moved with confidence. Her voice carried authority. Her life was filled with abundance and respect. She woke in her small hut and laughed, dismissing it as fantasy. But the dream returned again and again, each time more vivid. Finally, she asked herself, what if that version of me is real? What if I can call her strength into this life? That night, she dreamed again, but this time she asked her city self for guidance. And the answer came simple and clear. Stand tall. Speak as though they already believe. She woke, tried it, and her village began to listen in a new way. Her parallel self had lent her its wisdom. The truth is that you are not a single thread. You are a tapestry woven of infinite strands. Some of your parallel selves have mastered what you still struggle with. Some have lived through choices you avoided. Some carry the joy, the courage, the freedom you long for. You can reach them, and when you do, you collapse the distance, merging their gifts into your own life. The practice is intention. Before sleep, whisper, "Show me the self who has mastered what I seek." Trust the dream to bring you there, or in waking meditation, visualize a hall of mirrors. Each reflection shows a version of you. Walk among them. Find the one who shines with the qualities you need. Step into their reflection. Feel their posture, their confidence, their peace. Bring it into your body. You will find that their strength becomes yours, for they are not separate. They are you. Iris grew braver with each encounter. She met versions of herself who had failed, who had suffered, who carried scars. She did not turn away. She asked them what they had learned. Their answers were sobering, sometimes painful, but always true. She realized that even the wounded selves carried wisdom. They had walked paths she never would, but their lessons flowed into her nonetheless. She became whole not by denying them, but by integrating them. This is the gift of parallel selves. They expand your understanding of who you are. You are not limited to the single story you now live. You are an orchestra of possibilities, a chorus of selves, each singing a different note. By listening, by integrating, you enrich your song until it vibrates with fullness. Skeptics will say this is imagination, but imagination is the bridge. Whether through dream, vision, or meditation, what you encounter is real in the field of consciousness. The wisdom you draw will shape your waking life, and that is proof enough. Do not waste energy debating existence. Live it, use it, let it change you. Iris's village flourished as she integrated more of her parallel selves. She carried the authority of her city self, the compassion of her wounded self, the joy of her playful self. People said she had become many in one, and she smiled, knowing the truth. She had always been many. She had simply remembered. So, when you dream of other lives, do not dismiss them. When you imagine a version of yourself that feels stronger, wiser, freer, listen. They are calling to you from across the infinite field, reminding you of what is already within. Reach out, merge, become whole. For in the end, you are not one self, you are infinite, and every possibility lives in you, waiting to be remembered. Chapter 21. The Body as a Vessel of Cosmic Energy. The body is not merely flesh and bone, it is a temple, a vessel, a living conduit for the currents of the universe. Within its cells, galaxies hum. Within its blood, rivers of light flow. You may have been taught to treat the body as separate from spirit, as a cage for the soul. But the truth is greater. The body is the instrument through which cosmic energy plays its song. When you honor it, align it, and awaken it, you become a living channel for the infinite. Dahlia, a dancer born in a desert city, felt this truth before she could name it. When she moved, she felt currents of fire and wind swirl through her. Her teachers praised her grace, but she knew it was not skill alone. Something greater moved her limbs, breathed through her lungs, sang through her muscles. Yet as she grew older, she forgot. She began to treat her body as a tool to be pushed, punished, perfected. She ignored its whispers, silenced its aches. Soon the current dulled. Her dance became empty. She had closed the vessel. One night, wandering the dunes, Dahlia collapsed in exhaustion. As she lay on the sand, she felt the earth's vibration beneath her, steady and ancient. She realized her body was not separate from that rhythm. It was part of it. She wept, and as she wept, the current returned, flooding her with warmth. She rose and danced again, but this time not from effort, from surrender. The body had reopened as a vessel. Your body, too, is a vessel. It receives cosmic energy when you are still, when you breathe, when you listen. It channels that energy through movement, touch, voice, presence. This is why people feel peace in your embrace, strength in your words, joy in your laughter. It is not only you, it is the energy flowing through you. When you resist your body, you resist the flow. When you honor it, Yasao open the channel. The practice is simple but profound. Breathe. Each inhale is the universe entering you. Each exhale is the universe flowing through you. Sit quietly, place your hand on your chest, and imagine light entering with every breath, filling your body until it glows. Then imagine that light radiating outward, touching everything around you. This is the body as vessel, receiving, holding, giving. Movement too awakens the channel. Dance, stretch, walk, sway, not with rigid form but with fluid surrender. Let your body move as it wishes. Feel the energy flow. This is not exercise, it is invocation. You are reminding your body of its role as bridge between matter and spirit. Dahlia began teaching others not steps, but presence. She told her students, do not dance for the world. Dance as the world. And when they followed, something extraordinary happened. Even those who claimed they could not move found themselves trembling with energy, their bodies glowing with light. They were no longer just people. They were vessels of cosmic song. The body also speaks. It tells you when energy is blocked, when flow is interrupted. Pain, tension, illness are not betrayals. They are messages. Listen. Place your hand on the place that aches and whisper, what truth are you carrying? Then wait. Images, memories, emotions may rise. This is energy asking to move. Breathe into it, move with it, release it. The vessel clears and flow returns. So honor your body. Feed it not only with food, but with gratitude. Rest it not only with sleep, but with reverence. Move it not only with duty, but with joy. For this form is not accident, it is design. Through it, the infinite expresses itself in matter. Through it, the cosmic current becomes visible. Dahlia's final dance was not on a stage, but in the desert, under the stars. She moved as if the heavens themselves flowed through her. Those who saw it said they felt the universe breathing. She smiled, knowing the truth. It was not she alone. It was the body as vessel, the cosmos made flesh. So let your body be what it was always meant to be. Open the channel. Receive the current. Flow with it. For when you do, you will realize you are not a soul trapped in a body. You are the universe made visible, energy wearing form, light dancing in flesh. And every step you take, every breath you draw, every word you speak is cosmic energy moving through you, blessing the world with its song. Chapter 22, The Voice of Intuition as Universal Guidance. There is a voice that never shouts, a whisper so soft it can be drowned out by the clamor of thought, the noise of fear, the endless demands of the world. Yet this voice is older than your mind and wiser than your plans. It is intuition, the direct guidance of the universe woven into your very being. To follow it is to walk the path already lit for you. To ignore it is to wander in circles, mistaking confusion for freedom. The universe does not guide you with maps and blueprints. It guides you with this voice, small but certain, gentle but immovable. Evelyn, a seamstress who spent her life stitching garments for her neighbors, once ignored this voice so often that she no longer recognized it. She prided herself on logic, on careful planning, on doing what others expected. Yet no matter how diligently she worked, her life felt misaligned, her heart heavy. Then one evening, as she prepared to sew, she felt a sudden tug to step outside. She resisted, dismissing it as foolish. But the tug grew stronger, a quiet urging within her chest. She surrendered, stepping into the twilight just as a traveler approached her door, seeking shelter. This traveler would later become her closest friend, her confidant, her partner in life. That single whisper, had she ignored it, would have been lost forever. From that night on, Evelyn listened. Intuition does not explain itself. It does not argue or plead. It simply speaks, and its truth resonates in your body. You feel it as a lightness in the chest, a softening in the gut, a clarity that arrives without reason. The mind demands evidence. Intuition requires none. It speaks with the certainty of the infinite, for it is the infinite speaking through you. You may doubt it. You may confuse it with fear or desire. But with practice, you learn the difference. Fear constricts. Intuition expands. Desire agitates. Intuition steadies. When you are unsure, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask, does this guidance make me smaller or larger? The answer will tell you. Intuition always points toward expansion, toward alignment with your higher self. Evelyn began practicing by asking small questions each morning. Which fabric should I use? Which road should I walk today? She listened for the subtle pull, the gentle knowing. As she honored these whispers, her confidence grew. Soon the guidance arrived for larger choices. When to move her shop, when to trust a new partner, when to rest instead of push. Each time she obeyed, doors opened, coincidences aligned, blessings flowed. She realized the universe was speaking to her not from the sky, but from within. There is a practice to sharpen your intuition. Sit in stillness, place your hand upon your heart, and ask a question clearly. Then listen, not for words, but for resonance. Notice the first impression, the image, the feeling. Do not analyze. Accept it. Write it down. Over time, patterns emerge, and you learn the language of your own guidance. The more you listen, the louder it becomes. Not because it changes, but because you do. Intuition is not only for you. It also guides you toward the collective. Sometimes you will feel urged to call a friend just as they need you, or to take a detour that leads you to someone in distress. These are not coincidences. They are the universe aligning your steps for the good of the whole. To follow intuition is to become part of the choreography of destiny, moving not only for yourself, but for others. Evelyn once felt a sudden pull to close her shop early. She obeyed, though logic argued against it. As she walked home, she found a child lost in the street, crying for her mother. She guided the child safely, and in gratitude the family became her dearest patrons, sustaining her business for years. The whisper had been for her and for them. This is the way of intuition. It serves the weaving of all lives together. So trust your inner voice. Do not demand explanations. Do not dismiss it as chance. Intuition is the compass of the soul, the universe's guidance translated into your body. To follow it is to walk in harmony with the infinite. To ignore it is to wander blind, even with eyes wide open. Listen, trust, act, for the universe is always speaking, and its voice is already within you. Chapter 23. Building Reality Through Story and Imagination. The world you live in is not built only of stone and law, of numbers and rules. It is built of stories. Every society, every family, every person is shaped by the tales they tell themselves and others. Story is the oldest architecture of reality. It is through imagination that you lay foundations, through narrative that you construct walls, through belief that you place roofs above your head. If you wish to change your life, change the story you are telling. If you wish to change the world, tell a new story that others can enter. Thalos, a fisherman who worked the same waters as his father and grandfather, lived his life repeating one story. Our family never prospers. The sea gives us enough to survive, but never enough to thrive. He spoke this tale so often that it became a spell. Each net he cast, each wave he rode, obeyed the rhythm of his story, until one day a wandering poet visited his village and told him, "Your nets are full of fish, but your mind is empty of imagination." That night Thalos dreamt of nets shimmering with gold, of boats so vast they carried entire villages to safety. He woke laughing at the absurdity, yet something inside him had shifted. A new story had begun. Imagination is the workshop of reality. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Both shape your beliefs, your emotions, your frequency, and your frequency, in turn, shapes your reality. When you tell yourself the story of failure, you build walls that trap you. When you tell yourself the story of possibility, you construct bridges that lead you forward. The story does not follow reality. Reality follows the story. Thalos began to experiment. Each morning before casting his nets, he closed his eyes and told himself a different tale. The sea is generous. My family prospers. I am chosen by abundance. He imagined his nets heavy with fish, his children laughing with full bellies, his village celebrating his catch. At first, nothing changed, but slowly his story began to seep into reality. His nets grew heavier, his trade expanded, his family thrived. The sea had not changed, his story had. The practice is simple but requires devotion. Write the story of your life as you wish it to be, not in future tense, not as wishful thinking, but as present truth. I am abundant. I am loved. I live in peace. I create beauty. Then speak this story aloud, morning and night. Let your imagination fill in the details. See it, feel it, taste it. Over time, your subconscious accepts it, and the universe aligns to match it. Story becomes reality. Imagination is not childish fantasy. It is divine technology. Every invention, every discovery, every masterpiece began as imagination. The plane flew first in the mind before it flew in the sky. The cure was imagined before it was tested. The bridge was dreamed before it was built. You too carry this power. Your life can be rewritten through the stories you dare to tell. Thalos taught his children to tell different stories. No longer did they say, "We are cursed to survive." They said, "We are blessed to thrive." Within one generation, the family rose from poverty to prosperity. Their boats carried others. Their stories inspired their village. The poet had been right. Imagination had rewritten their destiny. So ask yourself, what story am I telling? Is it one of limitation or one of possibility? Is it a cage or a key? Rewrite it, speak it, imagine it until it sings in your bones. For story is not only entertainment, it is creation. And the universe is listening to every tale you tell, ready to make it true. Chapter 24, Manifestation as Cosmic Collaboration. You are not creating alone. Though it may seem your desires rise only from your heart, the truth is greater. Manifestation is collaboration. It is the dance between your intention and the infinite, between your will and the will of the cosmos. You are not a solitary painter on a blank canvas. You are one brush in the hand of a greater artist, co-creating the masterpiece of reality. Lucian, a stargazer who spent his nights mapping constellations, once believed himself insignificant, a single flicker beneath the vastness of the sky. He prayed for guidance, begged for blessings, but often felt unheard. Until one evening, as he traced Orion's belt across parchment, he felt a presence near him. A voice whispered, "You are not beneath the stars. You are among them. You are not waiting for us to answer. You are answering with us." In that moment, he understood. Manifestation was not pleading with the universe, but partnering with it. The collaboration begins with clarity. You set intention not as demand, but as invitation. This is what I long to create. This is the song I wish to sing. The universe responds not with obedience, but with alignment. It arranges opportunities, synchronicities, and encounters to match your resonance. But you must participate. You must notice the signs. Seize the openings. Act when doors appear. To manifest is to converse. You speak through intention. The universe answers through circumstance. Together, you build. Lucian practiced this each night. He set his intention. I wish to share the beauty of the stars with others. Soon travelers arrived at his observatory, drawn without knowing why. He spoke to them of constellations, and their hearts opened. Word spread, and his gatherings grew. He realized he had not done it alone. The universe had carried his voice through whispers, coincidences, and dreams. He had provided the intention. The cosmos had provided the stage. This is why surrender is as vital as effort. You may demand a specific form, this job, this person, this outcome, but the universe sees farther. It may deliver differently, in ways your mind cannot yet imagine. If you cling to control, you block the collaboration. If you release, you allow the infinite to paint with colors beyond your palette. There is a practice of collaboration. Each morning, state your intention clearly. Then ask, how would you, universe, like to shape this with me today? Be open to answers that come as nudges, coincidences, or inner knowing. Follow them even if they seem small. The infinite delights in weaving through subtlety. And each evening offer gratitude not only for what arrived, but for what is still unfolding. Gratitude is the language that deepens the partnership. Lucian once intended to write a book on the stars. He imagined it for years, but no words came. Then one day, a traveler placed a quill in his hand and said, I dreamed you were meant to use this. Lucian smiled, knowing the universe had answered through the dream of another. He began to write, and the words flowed easily. Collaboration had carried him where effort alone could not. So remember, manifestation is not solitary will. It is cosmic duet. You sing your note, the universe harmonizes. You take one step, the universe moves the ground beneath you. Together you weave the fabric of reality. Trust the partnership. Listen for the answers. Act when prompted. Release when resisted. For you are not creating against the universe. You are creating with it. And in this collaboration, the masterpiece of your life takes shape, more radiant and vast than you could ever imagine alone. Chapter 25, The Gratitude Amplification Chamber. There is a frequency higher than ambition, louder than desire, and more magnetic than any intention you can set. That frequency is gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a polite thank you whispered at life's table. It is the cosmic amplifier, the golden chamber in which your reality multiplies. When you enter sleep with gratitude, when you breathe gratitude in your waking hours, you place yourself in the highest resonance possible, and what vibrates at that height cannot help but draw more of its likeness. Adrian, a farmer in the low valleys, spent many seasons chasing abundance with restless hunger. He worked his land until his back bent and his hands bled, yet the harvest was always modest. He prayed for more rain, for better seed, for richer soil. Nothing seemed enough. One evening, defeated, he sat beside his small crop and muttered, I am cursed. But then his daughter came running, carrying a single apple she had plucked from the orchard. Look, she said with wonder, the earth gave us this. In that moment, Adrian wept. His curse dissolved and gratitude cracked open his heart. From that day, he began to thank the earth not for what he lacked, but for what he already held. And soon the harvest changed. Gratitude does not blind you to what is missing. It tunes you to the abundance already present. And by aligning with that frequency, you call more of it forth. When you focus on absence, you amplify lack. When you focus on blessings, no matter how small, you amplify wealth. The chamber of gratitude is always open. You need only step inside. Adrian began each morning with 3 simple acknowledgments. I thank the sun for rising. I thank the earth for holding me. I thank my breath for continuing. At first, it felt insufficient, almost foolish, but slowly he noticed a shift. His days felt lighter. His work carried joy instead of burden, and his fields seemed to respond. Plants grew taller, fruit ripened sweeter, rain fell more kindly. The world mirrored his frequency. This is the secret. Gratitude is not passive, it is generative. It creates the conditions for more gratitude. It is not only an emotion, but an act of creation. The universe responds to gratitude as metal responds to magnet, as flowers respond to sunlight. It cannot resist. To say thank you is to say yes, and yes is the doorway to expansion. The practice of amplification is simple. Each night before sleep, recall 3 moments from the day that sparked even the smallest joy. Speak them aloud. Let your body feel them again. Then add 3 future moments spoken as if they have already arrived. I thank the opportunity that blesses me. I thank the health flowing through me. I thank the abundance surrounding me. In the chamber of night, your subconscious will magnify these frequencies, drawing their likeness into your waking life. Adrian shared this ritual with his neighbors, and soon their entire valley transformed. Families who once complained of scarcity began speaking gratitude for every drop of rain, every loaf of bread. The village, once heavy with struggle, became light with laughter. Crops flourished, markets thrived, friendships deepened. It was not magic in the soil, it was magic in their gratitude. So step into the chamber, speak thanks for what you hold, and thanks for what is on its way. Let gratitude be your song, your shield, your magnet. For in the end, gratitude is not simply a response to life. It is the frequency that shapes it. And when you live within that chamber, reality cannot help but amplify your blessings until they overflow. Chapter 26. The Infinite Possibility Portal. There are moments when you stand at the edge of what you believe possible, and you see only walls. But those walls are mist. Behind them lies a portal, a shimmering gateway into infinite possibility. This portal is not hidden in the stars or buried in ancient temples. It is within you. The portal opens whenever you release the belief that limits are real. And once you step through, you find that what you thought impossible was simply what you had not yet chosen. Selena, a fisherwoman who lived by the cliffs, believed her life was bound by the tides. She rose with the sun, cast her nets, sold her catch. Year after year, her life repeated. She told herself, "This is all I can ever be." But one night, staring at the endless ocean, she felt a strange pull. She whispered, "What if there is more?" At that question, the portal stirred. She dreamt of ships she had never seen, of lands beyond the horizon, of wealth and joy she had never dared imagine. When she woke, the ocean seemed different, not a boundary but a bridge. The portal had opened. Infinite possibility is not fantasy. It is the nature of reality. Every choice you make creates branches, timelines stretching endlessly. Every thought, every belief, every vision opens new doors. What you see as fixed is fluid. What you see as impossible is simply unchosen. The portal waits, shimmering at the edge of your perception, asking only that you believe. Selena tested this by changing her story. Instead of saying, "I am only a fisherwoman," she began to say, "I am the daughter of the sea, and the sea is infinite." She felt her body expand at those words, as if the portal widened. Soon, opportunities appeared. A merchant offered her passage to new markets. Strangers arrived with new tools and knowledge. Her life, once narrow, became vast. She realized the ocean had not changed. Her perception had. The portal opens when you shift from limitation to expansion. It is not about forcing reality, but about allowing. When you say, "I cannot," the portal closes. When you say, "I am willing," it opens. The infinite responds not to your doubt, but to your willingness to step beyond the known. There is a practice to enter the portal. Close your eyes and imagine standing before a great archway of light. Behind you lies your current life. Before you lies infinite versions of yourself, healed, abundant, joyful, free. Whisper, "I choose." Step forward in your mind. Feel the shift in your body. Then act in small ways as if you are already within that reality. Each step confirms your passage through the portal. Selena eventually sailed beyond her village. She discovered lands she had only dreamed of, friends she had not imagined, riches she had not asked for. She laughed often, saying, "I did not find a new world, I found a new self." For that is the truth. The portal is not about escaping, it is about remembering. You are infinite. Your possibilities are infinite. The only walls are the ones you believe in. So when you feel trapped, when you see only barriers, pause, whisper, "What if?" and let the portal shimmer before you. Step through with courage. Act as if. Believe as if. For once you cross, you will find that impossibility was only a mask. The portal will show you what was always true. You are boundless, and your life is a field of infinite possibilities waiting for you to choose. Chapter 27. The Energy Signature Designer. Every being emits a frequency, a unique vibration woven of thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and desires. This is your energy signature. It is the song you carry into the world, and it shapes the experiences that find you. You may think chance governs your encounters, but it is your signature that calls them. Change your signature, and you change your reality. You are not only a participant, you are a designer. The universe responds to your song. The question is, what are you singing? Marcus, a merchant who traded in silks and spices, lived many years under the weight of disappointment. Though he traveled far, wealth always slipped through his hands. His heart carried bitterness. His mind repeated the story, "I am destined to fail." This was his signature, and the world responded accordingly. Every deal soured, every partnership faltered, until one evening a mystic woman crossed his path and told him, "You are not cursed. You are designing a frequency that calls failure. Sing differently, and the world will answer differently." Her words unsettled him, but they also ignited curiosity. He began to observe his energy. He noticed how his body contracted with suspicion, how his voice carried complaint, how his thoughts repeated scarcity. He realized he had been broadcasting failure into the universe, and the universe had simply answered in kind. Determined, he began to design anew. The process was not instant. Each morning, Marcus placed his hand on his heart and whispered 3 qualities he wished his energy to carry: joy, abundance, trust. Throughout the day, whenever his old bitterness rose, he paused and replaced it with gratitude. He practiced smiling at strangers, speaking words of generosity, envisioning his success as already real. Slowly, his body shifted. His signature changed. He noticed people treating him differently, opportunities flowing with less resistance. It was not luck, it was resonance. Your energy signature is not fixed, it is fluid. You design it with every thought, every word, every emotion you choose to hold. If you vibrate fear, you attract fear. If you vibrate love, you attract love. The world is not punishing or rewarding you, it is echoing your song. And when you shift your song, the echo shifts. There is a practice to design with intention. Each morning, ask, "What signature do I choose today?" Write down 3 qualities. Close your eyes and imagine your body glowing with these frequencies, radiating outward like light. Throughout the day, return to them, embody them in action, speak them, feel them. Each repetition strengthens the design until it becomes your natural resonance. Marcus, once poor, became prosperous, but more than wealth, he carried joy. People sought him not only for trade, but for his presence, saying he felt like sunlight. He had not discovered a secret formula. He had rewritten his song. He understood then that his true power was not in the goods he carried, but in the signature he radiated. So ask yourself, what am I broadcasting? Do my thoughts hum with fear or with love? Do my words carry bitterness or blessing? You are the designer. The universe does not impose. It responds. Shape your signature with care, with devotion, with joy. For when you design your energy with intention, the world aligns to match it. And soon you will find yourself surrounded by echoes of your own song, living in a reality you have composed with the frequency of your soul. Chapter 28. The Synchronicity Orchestrator. There are moments when life feels choreographed, as if an unseen conductor were guiding events into perfect timing. A stranger says the exact words you needed to hear. A book falls open to the passage that answers your question. A chance meeting alters the direction of your life. These are not accidents. They are synchronicities, threads woven by the universe to remind you that you are not wandering aimlessly, but moving in harmony with a greater design. The orchestrator of these moments is not outside you. It is you aligned with the infinite, playing your part in the cosmic symphony. Mirek, a watchmaker in a quiet town, lived by precision. His days revolved around gears and springs, each tick predictable. He mistrusted chance, believing only in what could be measured, yet his life grew hollow, his heart restless. One morning, as he adjusted a delicate clock, a bird flew through his open window and landed on the table. Startled, he dropped the tool in his hand, which struck the clock and caused it to spring back to life after months of silence. At that moment, he heard the church bells outside, striking the same rhythm. A neighbor knocked at his door, carrying a commission he had long hoped for. The bird, the bells, the neighbor, all arriving at once. For the first time, Mirek wondered, was life trying to speak to him? Synchronicity is the universe speaking in chords rather than single notes. Each event on its own may seem small, but together they create meaning that cannot be ignored. When you are aligned, you notice the patterns. When you are attuned, you recognize the melody. The orchestrator is always at work, but only those who listen can hear the song. The practice is awareness. Each day, pause to notice what repeats, what coincides, what aligns. Keep a journal of synchronicities. Over time, patterns reveal themselves. A symbol may follow you, a number may echo, a word may appear in conversations, books, and dreams. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The universe is showing you that you are on the right path. Mirek began to listen. He noticed that whenever he doubted himself, clocks around him would falter, their ticks irregular. Whenever he trusted his instincts, timepieces seemed to keep perfect rhythm. He realized the synchronicities were mirrors, guiding him back to alignment. Soon he began making decisions not by calculation alone, but by noticing the patterns life placed in his path. And every time he trusted the orchestration, the results were extraordinary. Synchronicity is not manipulation. It is not about forcing life to give you signs. It is about aligning with flow so deeply that signs arise naturally. When you release control, when you surrender to resonance, the universe begins arranging moments in perfect harmony. You become both player and instrument, both listener and composer. There is a deeper practice. Each night before sleep, whisper, "Show me through synchronicity." Then release the need to know how. In the days that follow, watch. The answer may come in a conversation, in a headline, in the song of a bird. Trust it. Do not dismiss it as chance. Chance is the mask synchronicity wears when it wishes to remain hidden. Mirek once prayed silently for clarity about his future. The next morning, 3 different people mentioned journeys, one in a letter, one in a passing remark, one in a dream. He took it as guidance, left his village, and soon found himself apprenticed to a master whose teachings transformed his life. The orchestration had been precise, undeniable, merciful. So remember, you are not abandoned to randomness. Life is not chaos dressed in patterns. Life is music. And when you open yourself to its orchestration, synchronicities bloom like notes in a song written just for you. Trust them, follow them, for they are the universe's way of saying, You are exactly where you need to be. Chapter 29, The Master Key Holder. At the heart of all teachings lies a final truth. You are not merely receiving messages, practicing rituals, or aligning with signs. You are the source itself. You are the dreamer, the dream, and the act of dreaming. To realize this is to hold the master key, the key that unlocks not just one door, but all doors at once. When you awaken to this truth, you no longer beg reality to change. You shape it with the recognition that you are reality itself. Verena, a scholar who spent decades studying sacred texts, searched tirelessly for the ultimate secret. She traveled to temples, questioned sages, memorized scriptures. Each answer satisfied her briefly, but left her restless, for always there seemed to be something hidden, something withheld. Then one night, weary from study, she dreamt of standing before an immense door of light. She searched her robes for a key, but found none. Despairing, she leaned against the door, and to her astonishment, it opened. She realized then the key had never been separate from her. It was she herself. She was the master key. The master key is recognition. It is the moment you understand you are not a fragment trying to reconnect with the infinite. You are the infinite remembering itself. All the practices, all the signs, all the synchronicities point you back to this one truth. You are not seeking. You are remembering. The door has never been locked. You have simply forgotten you were the key. This recognition does not end your journey. It transforms it. Instead of searching for guidance, you begin creating from knowing. Instead of doubting your worth, you embody it. Instead of waiting for permission, you act from authority. The master key unlocks not by effort but by being. To be is to open. Verena stopped chasing teachers and began listening inwardly. Each question she once asked outside herself, she now asked within. And answers came not in riddles but in clear knowing, as if the universe had been waiting all along for her to notice her own voice. Her life grew lighter, her presence radiant. People traveled to her not for teachings but for the peace she embodied. She smiled often, saying only, "The key was never lost." You may wonder, how do I hold the master key? The answer is simple, by remembering who you are. Sit in stillness, close your eyes and whisper, "I am the dreamer of this reality." Let the words sink beyond thought. Feel them. Each time you return to this remembrance, you unlock another door. The walls of limitation dissolve, the illusions of separation fade, and what remains is freedom. The master key is not a thing you carry, it is what you are. Verena's final teaching was not written in books, but lived in her being. She told her students, "Stop asking the sky to open. You are the sky. Stop begging for light. You are the light. Stop searching for keys. You are the key." Those who understood walked away, transformed. Those who did not, she blessed with patience, knowing they too would one day remember. So hold the key, or rather, be it. Walk as the one who unlocks reality by existing. Create from the knowing that your consciousness is the architect of worlds. For the master key does not open a door to the infinite. It opens your awareness to the truth that you were never outside it. You are the door, the key, and the infinite beyond. Chapter 30, The Awakened Dreamer's Graduation. There comes a moment when all the teachings converge, when practices dissolve into presence, when searching ends because you have found what was always within. This is graduation, not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your mastery. You graduate when you no longer see yourself as a seeker of signs, but as a dreamer awakened to their own creative power. You step into life not as student alone, but as teacher, guide, creator, master of your own reality. Isolde, who had once been a restless wanderer, spent years gathering wisdom from dreams, symbols, synchronicities. She practiced gratitude, surrendered control, rewrote her story. She built, step by step, a life of alignment. Yet still she asked, "When will I arrive?" One night, in meditation, she heard a voice. You have already arrived. You are no longer seeking, you are dreaming awake. In that moment, she felt the world shift. The lessons she had collected no longer felt separate. They became one flow, one song, one truth. She had graduated into her own mastery. Graduation is not marked by fanfare. It is subtle. It is the quiet certainty that you are no longer chasing life. You are shaping it. You are no longer begging the universe. You are conversing with it. You are no longer lost in illusion. You are weaving reality consciously. This is the awakened dreamer's gift. To live as both dream and dreamer, to shape reality while knowing you are inseparable from it. Isolde began walking differently. She carried herself with calm authority. When challenges arose, she did not collapse in despair. She asked, "What is this teaching me?" When opportunities appeared, she did not hesitate. She stepped forward with trust. People began to gather around her, sensing her presence as sanctuary. She did not call herself master, yet mastery radiated from her. Her life itself became her teaching. Graduation does not mean struggle vanishes. It means you meet struggle as teacher, not enemy. It does not mean loss disappears. It means loss reveals new openings. It does not mean you control everything. It means you collaborate consciously, trusting the orchestration. The awakened dreamer does not demand perfection. They embody participation, knowing every moment is part of the dance. There is a practice of graduation. Each morning, whisper, "I am awake in the dream." Then live your day as creator. Notice what you are weaving with your words, your thoughts, your choices. End each night with gratitude, not only for what occurred, but for the truth that you shaped it. Soon you will see your life reflect your mastery, not by accident, but by design. Isolde's final act was simple. She gathered her community and told them, "You do not need me. You need only yourselves. You are the dreamers. You are the masters. Graduate into your own power." Then she walked into the forest, living quietly. Her presence still felt in the lives she touched. For true masters do not create followers, they awaken other masters. So now, as you reach this chapter, know that you too have arrived at graduation. The teachings are within you, the keys already in your hands, the dream alive in your breath. You are no longer simply reading, you are embodying. You are no longer only a seeker, you are a creator. The universe's final message is not outside you, it is this. You are the awakened dreamer, and reality is yours to shape. Step into your mastery, live as the one who dreams awake, and let the world be blessed by the graduation of your soul.